Hey everybody, what's up? This is Ash for the Triple S League, and welcome to my 5 escape run in Prey Mooncrash. Mooncrash is an excellent DLC for Prey. I would recommend it for anyone who enjoys the base game. And the 5 escape run is kind of the pinnacle objective of the game. It doesn't have to be done last, but it is kind of sort of the peak objective where you escape from the base with all 5 characters in a single run of the simulation. And so, in theory, it's the most difficult, the most difficult objective. It requires some forethought, some planning, etc. But this is not my first 5 escape run. I did another one, actually, where I used every mechanic at my advantage. I recorded that. I recorded an hour of commentary for it, and then I realized it was boring as crap. So I decided to do it again, and I decided to restrict myself a little more. I don't know why I was trying to beat this tentacle nest to death. I just wanted to kill it. But once the tentacles are out, it's actually hard. It's really hard to hit the base of the thing. Went back for the health pack here. Of course, this was kind of a fruitless endeavor because if I hadn't gone back for the health pack, I might not have needed the health pack. Anyway, what was I saying? Right. So anyway, so I decided to try again and get it more interesting because my first time through this, I didn't even get past corruption level 2 because I found and purchased so many delay loops. You can purchase them using sim points, and I had nothing else to spend sim points on. I mean, you're not getting neuromods at this point, or I wasn't getting neuromods at this point because I had all of my characters, all their skill trees were maxed out. So you don't need to find neuromods. You basically are buying weapons and basically, you can purchase anything you're going to need in the sim with sim points once you get far enough into the game, and that just made it too easy. You know, I was able to. I'm really having issues with these tentacle nests right off the bat here. This is kind of embarrassing, actually. But yeah, you can buy the escape pod control chip. You can buy delay loops. You can buy anti-rad, which you need for one of the escapes. So I decided to make it more difficult for myself, and I'm really glad I did, because this wound up being a much more interesting run. So basically the rules here are I don't spend any sim points. I only have the default loadout of each character. Everything else I have to find in the simulation itself. Also, I did not let myself use the Mule operator because I found that was just way too easy. It was just... It's a convenient mechanic, but it makes it really easy because the Mule operator is... it's a companion you could summon that basically is just carries stuff for you. And you can summon it and unsummon it. But it's also a way of transferring items between employees. So here I'm just checking on... well, here I'm getting shot by this turret. But I was using the security terminal there. So just fold those up and everything's fine. Oh man, I forgot how beat up I got at the beginning of this. But part of the issue that I'm having, because I did several attempts at this, and so it's a little difficult to remember what happened during which attempt and which things happened during my final attempt here. But anyway, here I'm just checking on the power levels. I see there that Pythias Labs is unpowered, which was not going to do because I need to go to Pythias Labs fairly early on in the run. And right now, I can't sprint because I've got bleeding damage, which was really annoying. And when you're bleeding, any exertion, like running, jumping, anything like that, actually causes damage. So I'm stuck walking at this point until I get that damage fixed. So I started with the volunteer, and the first thing I did was send him here to the command crater or the command tower to check on the power level. You know, to redirect the power if necessary. Also, just to check on the hazards. As you can see, we've got hazardous atmospheric conditions in the crater right now, which is why I'm having to wear the spacesuit. So sometimes you'll have the hazardous atmospheric conditions, sometimes you won't. And when you do, it's a little disorienting. The spacesuit can be a little disorienting because your hearing is muffled and you've got those lines in front of your vision. But I actually find it a little easier because there's less Typhon around. At least it appears that way to me. So here I decided to fabricate this coagulating gel, which you can use to fix the bleeding damage. Because I was like, screw that. And I was already almost at corruption level 2, so I decided to make a delay loop as well. So yeah, so this is this is me playing by the rules that I had set for myself. Just seeing here if there's anything else I could fabricate, because I didn't allow myself to buy anything, you know, coming into the sim, and I also wasn't allowing myself to use the Mule operator, because the Mule operator, as I was saying earlier, you can use that to transfer items between characters really easily, which seemed really... It's really overpowered. It basically, I would say, between those two things, I probably, man, really have a thing against those tentacle nests. I just decided to ignore that one. That was probably a good idea, but it came after me anyway. A volunteer's got a really cool ability you can use to get past the nests. It's the burrow, or not the nests, the Typhon gates. It's a burrow ability. So that's one of the reasons I started with him, because I had... Most of my characters are neuromodded up to the point where... Well, to the max.
Would like to remind everyone that your mom doesn't work on Pythias. So let's all do our best to
I love that. Your mom doesn't work on Pythias. That should be a t-shirt. Your mom doesn't work on Pythias. So, as I was saying, the Typhon gates recognize most of my characters as Typhon because they have their Typhon abilities maxed out. So one of the things I had to plan for was ways to get past the Typhon gates, because there's buttons on one side that let you through, but then on the other side, you know, now I can't get through on this side, for example. As you can see, it's blinking, you are Typhon, because the gate recognizes you as Typhon. I love his... And the Volunteer's super thermal ability, I absolutely love. So, and I'm grabbing these because I'm going to need them for later, for the mass driver escape. Killed this Weaver to get another delay loop. And then I do a lot of looting during the early part of the run here. Changing the song to Mind Games, because that's basically... It is basically the soundtrack of my life when I'm playing this game. Love the music in this. It's fantastic. Prey is... If there's one reason anyone should play Prey, it's just the atmosphere. So I'm grabbing stuff to recycle, to use for fabrication, and also just stocking up on anything that my other characters might need down the road. Because even though Oh yeah, I was talking about the Mule operator. So you can summon the Mule operator, put all your stuff in the Mule operator. Oh, burn myself there. I was really off to a rough start here, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, you can put all your stuff in the Mule operator, escape with one character, bring in your next character, summon the Mule operator, and then just grab all of the same stuff. It persists. It stays with the Mule operator between characters. So that ability was kind of overpowered. So between not using sim points and not allowing myself to use the Mule operator, I feel like I increased the difficulty of this by about 100%. So I'd say it was about twice as hard, if not a little more. Plus, I also got really, really lucky on my first run of this. Now that was a thermal mimic, so of course the super thermal attack does nothing to it. But there was another mimic up there that I managed to get with the super thermal. It's just such an awesome attack. See this gate? As soon as I walk in front of this gate's gonna activate. But yeah, so my original 5 escape run, because I recorded literally my first attempt at doing a 5 escape run and was successful, and yeah, it was just way too easy and it was boring, and I don't want to give you guys a boring show. So I went and did it again with these special rules, and it took, I'd say it took about half a dozen attempts the second time. My pet mimic, I swear, has ADHD or something, because it always runs off. It gets distracted by something, and it'll ignore a mimic that's right in front of its face to go mark a mimic on the other side of the room. So here we had a corrupted security officer, and then our security operator. And then I think a normal one, because after camping out here for a little while, I went in and there was only a regular security operator, and then I think it destroyed the other one. So yeah, I just waited for those security operators to fight it out. Luckily, the good one won. It looks like it didn't even take any damage. Now, this was my plan for transferring my inventory to the next character. Another delay loop, which was very handy. So basically, I'd cleared out all the enemies now between me and my escape route. And I was at corruption level 1, and it was... obviously, you can see the corruption level's almost at 0. So... So I decided I was going to leave all my stuff here at this junction point at the tram terminal here in the crew annex, and basically just drop it all on the floor and leave it for my other character to come in, because no new enemies were going to spawn until corruption level 2 kicked in. So I could safely drop all my stuff here. Now, I learned the hard way a little later that this is not the best way to do this. You'll see why. I don't know why I grabbed... Oh, yeah. I know why I grabbed that, because it's an EMP, and EMPs are very important here, especially for my... So, the volunteer can burrow underneath the Typhon gates. The engineer has an EMP attack that can disable the Typhon gates. Oh, there was another mimic. So those two characters could deal with the Typhon gates no problem. After that, my next two characters, the volunteer, or the spy and the director, they both needed either EMPs or a stun gun in order to get through the Typhon gates. I was just checking to see if there was anything really good that I wanted to grab. But there really wasn't, so I just took the volunteer to a successful escape in the shuttle. So, moving on to the engineer, Joan Winslow. As you can see, didn't buy anything, didn't even buy any chipsets. I debated whether or not I was going to let myself buy chipsets, but then I thought, I'll just make it a straight up, no spending sim points rule for myself. So I was saying earlier that you have to plan for ways to get through the Typhon gates, otherwise you can get stuck really easily. And so my first two characters had sort of built-in ways of getting through the Typhon gates, but I needed to make sure that my next two characters had EMPs or a stun gun. Had to grab the Artax's propulsion system because she's kind of one of the slower moving characters. I kind of went... I didn't even do this intentionally, but all my characters, I went in order of the speed they run. I don't know if Joan runs any faster than the Volunteer does, but I know my final two, the Spy and then VJ is so fast. But I went sort of in order of toughness and my preference and comfort as far as their playstyle, because I knew as the corruption level got higher, I was just double checking what was unpowered here. Oh yeah, and the tram status. So Pythias Labs, the tram was offline, so I knew I needed to get a couple of control modules to fix the tram so that I could go to the tram station at the crew annex and pick up all of my inventory. Luckily, I had the open corridor here. Sometimes this corridor is collapsed when you go through the simulation, and you have to go the overland route through the crater, which can be a real pain. But I had the underground corridor was open, which was absolutely fantastic.
Gate reactivation in 3.
One of these little outbuildings has a destroyed harvester in it that you can grab a control module from. And I couldn't remember which one, so I decided to just check the closest one, but there was no dice. But anyway, you can see I use her EMP attack there to get through the Typhon gate, no problem. Now, I didn't come to Pythias Labs just to fix the tram. You absolutely have to bring your engineer to Pythias Labs if you want to do a 5 escape run, because one of the escape routes, the Mimic Portal, the door is broken, and you need... I lost my footing there. So you need the engineer to repair the door mechanism on the Mimic Portal, and you need the Spy to then hack the terminal that is connected to the Mimic Portal. Usually there is a Phantom or sometimes a Poltergeist out here. Here's one of the control modules I needed. I wasn't sure if I'd need one or two. Sometimes the tram stations, when they're offline, sometimes they have one missing control module, sometimes they have two missing. So I had one thus far. Yeah, as I was saying, so you have to bring your... Oh, man, those... I don't recall ever having nearly as much trouble with tentacle nests as I had in this particular run. I don't know what the deal was. Anyway. Joan is wicked with the wrench. She's really the only character that I use the wrench with, because she is so awesome with it. And realized at the last second that last remaining mimic was my own pet mimic. So here we finally hit corruption level 2 on my second character, so that wasn't too bad. Now, there's another control module if you go through that little maintenance hatch. But it turns out I only needed one. So. I still don't know what I got burned by there. It doesn't look like there was any fire nearby.
This is a security reminder.
Of course.
All TranStar projects
I'm a big pile of stuff, and thankfully the game has this this function where if you just hold down the button, you can pick up stuff really fast. Didn't have a stun gun, so decided I wasn't going to mess with these corrupted security officers. And this is another reason that I put the engineer early, because I knew I would... I placed her second in line very strategically, because I knew I'd probably have some weapons by this point, but they might be at very low integrity levels, so having her able to repair them like that meant that they would stay in good condition throughout the remaining 3 characters after her. So there was a bit of strategy in that decision. Okay, back in Pythias Labs with a mission to accomplish. So basically, I can't remember if I finished what I was saying earlier about the Mimic Portal, but you have to repair the Mimic Portal with the engineer and hack the Mimic Portal with the Casma Spy, aka the Custodian. Which is kind of a badass name for a spy, actually. The Custodian. My one lonely glue charge wasn't gonna get the whole hallway, but thankfully it took care of some of the fire. Also, I always duck in here and grab the this psionic blade, the psychostatic cutter. There's an epic one, or sorry, a legend. I can't remember what they call it now. Anyway, the top tier one, the gold one, sitting right in there. So this is the Mimic Portal. Sometimes there's a delay loop over there, but not this time. So you got to repair this, and the engineer is the only person who can repair it. Only one of your characters. So this is really the only instance where you have to basically have your characters cooperate in order to escape. Where it's an absolute must. Like, obviously, you know, you do things like repairing the tram so that other characters can get around easier. All that stuff helps, but this is the only case, I think, where it's absolutely essential that you use more than one character to facilitate an escape. I kind of wish there had been a few more things like that. Really my only complaint about this. I happened to find an escape pod navigation ship, which was kind of serendipitous because at this point I remember as I was playing this, I thought I had an escape pod navigation ship. I thought I had fabricated one, but I don't think I actually had. That was a previous run. They all started to run together in my brain. I also, you know, kept forgetting which area had the functioning escape pod, and I thought it was Moonworks, so I was going to head to Moonworks, but then I just checked the terminal and was like, oh yeah, it's actually here in Pythias Labs. Because there are 3 possible locations for the escape pod to be. It can be in one of those 3 locations. in any given run of the simulation. So there's only ever one escape pod you can use. Now this this is where I realized this is not the best inventory management strategy. Because when you drop everything at once, sometimes things explode. So, yeah. Took some damage and everything scattered everywhere. And I think... I don't know if my weapons took damage or not, but I was like, well, whoops. No for next time, but there wasn't a next time. By the way, if you're playing this game and you want to keep playing on your current save, always leave one objective uncompleted. If you leave one objective unfinished, you can go back and play through the simulation infinite times. As soon as you complete all the objectives, you go into the end game, which is really cool. But at that point, you're done. You'll have to restart if you want to keep playing, which is annoying. I don't know why they would do it that way. And I don't know... I do know why I was grabbing stuff here. It was just pure habit. There was really no point to it. But I had no weapons, so I was just kind of like, get me in here before the Typhons see me. Anyway, successful escape in the escape pod with the engineer. So next, went with the director, who is a pretty fun character to play. She's a little faster. She's got some really good stealth activities, or abilities, I should say, not stealth activities. Actually, don't quote me on the fact of her being faster. I don't actually know. Seems like she's running a little faster than the other characters. She's got pretty good stealth abilities. She's also got some of the coolest sort of Typhon powers that I really never found much of a use for. She's got mimic powers, so she can you can transform into objects that are nearby, and as you level up the power, you can mimic more complex things like operators. And so I think I used that once to mimic an operator and just like float around one area of the station because I was really weak and almost dead and didn't want to aggro any of the Typhon. But it was really cool. Like theoretically you could use that power to get up high somewhere without having to climb, because you can just sort of float up indefinitely. But never found a ton of use for it. I can't remember. Oh, right. I remember what I was doing there. I missed it earlier, but I put 2 EMPs and 2 food items in that green medical container. Specifically to make sure that when I had a character enter the crater that, wasn't able to get past the Typhon gates any other way, that they had an EMP so that they could get past the Typhon gates. And I had 2 EMPs at this point, so 1 for the director, 1 for the spy was definitely enough. But I wound up having more than enough, because in my little inventory pile that I dropped and that exploded everywhere there was another EMP. Unless that's the thing that exploded, I don't remember. And the food I had stashed aside in that container because you actually need 5 food items, 5 non-alcoholic drink items, and then just 1 bottle of anti-rad in order to do the mass driver escape later. So I just dropped everything else there, decided that was an okay. I can't remember what my strategy was there. Why I took those EMPs and then just dropped them there. I don't know where this Phantom came from. He wasn't here the last time I came through. But I have no weapons at this point, so I just blasting him with my psionic abilities. But had to wait for it to recharge. Thankfully he didn't do too much damage. Grab myself some fish sticks. Should have waited just a little bit longer there. Anyway, the reason I dropped all my stuff is because this is pretty straightforward. As long as you don't encounter any enemies here, which I don't think I did. Like so I had a Phantom spawn there, but I just ran past him. The enemies respawn at the beginning of each corruption level, and they don't respawn immediately in the room that you're in, but everywhere else they will respawn. But there's rarely ever any enemies in here. Sometimes there's a poltergeist. Now,
it's time to set contingencies we've discussed.
This was annoying. This Phantom was, or the door was glitched, or the Phantom was glitched. They were both glitched. There were glitches. Glitches were happening. So the Phantom was actually able to shoot me through the door. And that was kind of annoying.
The Typhon are all linked.
So,
which means whatever's happening
I could have died there, and I would have been really salty.
And it should go without saying that we keep the board out of the loop on this.
If I had died because of this stupid door glitch, that would have pissed me right off. Anyway, other than that, we'll
talk again soon.
This is ridiculously straightforward, and it's actually a little disappointing. The first time you do this escape, you do this exactly what I'm doing now. Transfer data to the operator. But then it hangs because there's some data missing. So then what you have to do is you have to go to another part of the station. You have to use one of the director's Typhon powers to resurrect a specific corpse as a Phantom. And then you scan that Phantom, and that gives you the missing data. And then you come back here to finish the escape. I don't know why they took that step out.
I know it seems morbid, but we can't shrink from the reality that you might not make it off the moon.
I don't know why they took that extra step out, because that made this escape a lot more interesting and a lot more challenging.
I'm putting Talos 1 in the dark after this. You won't be able to reach me.
So, just a lot of standing around while Alex talks. So, this isn't really much of an escape. Basically, there's this personality capture emulation technology they have in this universe where you can copy your consciousness to a machine object. And so, she's doing that here just to have a backup of herself. But somebody has screwed her over and put a bug in the system so that when she copies herself, then the machine kills the original. The running eraseu.bat. I think that's hilarious, personally, because her last name is Yu, Y-U. And she's the cousin of the main protagonist of the base game of Prey. Anyway, so escaped by brain emulation, which I don't consider really an escape. It's not like because she didn't transfer her consciousness into the operator and then escape. She copied her consciousness to the operator and then died. So, but that's why it says you escaped, sort of. That's Obsidian's dream, by the way, to upload his consciousness to a machine, a robot of some kind. He wants to be a giant warship. I wonder if he'd settle for something like an operator. That'd be hilarious. Having that float around the office. All right, so this is the spy now, the Casma spy who is posing as a custodian on the moon base. She's an awesome character. She is super fun. She's so fast. I overshot that rock, which clearly would have aggroed the moon shark, but she's so fast that the moon shark's not even really a problem. Now this is where I realized I had made a mistake, because I was now I had taken those EMPs from the control tower and put them inside the Pythias labs with the rest of the inventory. Now, if the tunnel had been collapsed here, I'd have been screwed. Like, I'd have been running around looking for an EMP or a stun gun or something to help me get past the Typhon Gate. But because this tunnel was open, I could just enter the Pythias labs this way. Now, this seems like a huge security flaw that the Typhon can just enter that way. Like, if I can enter this way, why can't the Typhon? Just to get past the Typhon gates. So it was a bit of a mistake, but thankfully without consequence, because the corridor happened to be open. Now, one of the issues is that the engineer has a much higher inventory capacity than any of the other characters, so I had to do some juggling of stuff.
Hazardous atmosphere conditions.
Experiencing dust storm conditions. Please secure a breathing apparatus.
I'll be honest,
Indoors.
I have no idea why I'm going back this way. Because she needs to escape through the Mimic portal in Pythias Labs. So I'm just going to watch along with you guys and see what happens. Was I going to use the fabricator? Oh, right. I was putting all my inventory here for VJ to pick up. That's right. So it was fairly early in corruption level 3, so I just kept my low-level psychostatic cutter to use as a weapon, and then but basically just had my blade and my wits about me to escape through the Mimic portal. Okay, back at Pythias Labs. Every time I go through that window, I break a little more glass off. I don't know why that is. Yeah, but this was pretty straightforward, because all that happened was these tentacle blades respawn. There was a mimic here. But aside from that, there were... Oh, another one. Okay. And this, I don't know, I was just looting stuff out of habit. I kind of thought there might be a delay loop in here. So I just took a quick look. But anyway, all that needed to happen here was to play this little hacking minigame, and then and then escape. So, wow, I suck at this. So, yeah, the escape with the Casma spy, sadly, somewhat uneventful.
Anomaly stabilized.
Warning, due to a
Hazardous atmosphere conditions.
And now VJ, the security officer. Now this is my favorite character to play. He is super fast. He jumps super high. He's got an insane amount of health, as you can see. He's got 360 health. He's super tough, so he is really the battle-hardened one of the group. And as you can see, he jumps crazy far. So, like, triggering the moon shark, not a problem. Plus, even if you do, VJ runs so fast, you can basically just outrun the moon shark. But yeah, I kept him for last because I knew I'd be at a higher corruption level, and the enemies would be tougher. So, plus you have to escaping in the mass driver can be a little tricky at higher levels. There's enemies you have to clear out of a couple of different areas, so I wanted to make sure that I saved my toughest character for last. So just a little inventory management here. Now VJ doesn't actually need, by this point, I didn't need the EMP or the stun gun because VJ does not trigger the Typhon gates. So now it can still be handy to have a way to disable the Typhon gates if you want, like if you don't feel like killing all the Typhon in the area and you still want to go through the gate, or if that darn moon shark won't leave. But it's not absolutely essential. Now, I hadn't found any anti-rad, so I decided to make some here. And I had the stealth the stealth fabricator. I don't know why this fabricator in particular sometimes doesn't make any sound. Maybe it's because I was wearing the spacesuit, that's possible. Anyway, I also decided to make a Q-beam because I had the materials for it. I knew there was one in the director's office in Pythias Labs, but I didn't feel like going all the way to get that. So I was like, I'll just make one. I can make an elite one right here. No problem. Yeah, I never did wind up fixing the power, but basically just took the power modules out of one of the areas that I knew I wouldn't be going back to, stuck them into Moonworks. Just kind of taking stock of things here. So there's a telepath on this building, which I decided to kill because the larger enemies, the Weavers, the telepaths, and the technopaths, and nightmares, things like that. Oh! So, I had some coagulating gel. I happened to have it because when I was fabricating things that, just after fabricating the Q-beam there, I happened to have just enough materials left over to make one medical supply, and I chose to make the coagulating gel, and was glad for it because if I'd had bleeding damage at this point, that could have screwed my entire run, honestly. So the fact that I happened to just make 1 unit of coagulating gel. Might have saved my run. Anyway, so I decided to get this, to kill this telepath to get the delay loop from its cold, dead corpse. Now, telepaths have these sort of possessed humans that are connected to it. You have to kill all of them in order to sort of get rid of that shield that was that's surrounding it there. Now, I was nervous because I saw this one running. When sort of these human mind slaves, when they start running at you, they're basically doing a kind of a kamikaze move. They run at you and then their heads explode. And it's a powerful, it's a devastating attack. It happens when they die. And so I was nervous here. I didn't even want to shoot this one from this range. Because that sort of death explosion would have done some damage, but now telepaths are so once the shield is gone, they start attacking you, and it can be they have a fairly powerful psionic attack, and those little purple psionic whatever bolts that they shoot at you actually home in. So you have to not just you can't just move out of the way and assume it's going to go past you. They actually kind of home in on you, so you have to be very careful. But anyway, so reduce the corruption level a little bit. And I had to kill this harvester too. Yeah, that's right, because corrupted machinery is detected by the Typhon gates as Typhon. So, had to kill this thing. Now the harvesters, like they're heavily armored everywhere except right on the back. So attacking them from the front, basically useless. So I just planted an EMP there to stun the thing, but it wasn't cooperating. It was like, oh, I'm just gonna hang out at this corner here. As you can see, doing 0 damage with my gun. But managed to stun the thing and kill it like that. And when you kill these, you can get control modules from them. I didn't need any control modules. I didn't really need anything. Just looting everything is just such a habit. Anyway, so the Typhon shield came down and I was able to enter the Moonworks.
Oxygen levels critical. Please seek a breathing apparatus immediately.
So I had to have my spacesuit on in this area as well, because there was no oxygen. And for a second I was worried because the recycler there was busted. And I thought, is the power out? I could have sworn I fixed the power here, and I had. It was just the recycler itself that was broken. It wasn't the power was out. Phantom hiding here. Just put him down. Yeah, so Moonworks is a fun area. There's a lot of vertical movement you can do, and there's actually a in one of my other runs, one of my failed attempts at this, I had a really cool fight with a telepath in here, and some other enemies, and I actually clipped that out and I published it as another video. If you want to look for that, it's called Epic Fight with a Telepath in Moonworks or something like that. And that Weaver gave me another delay loop to reduce the corruption. Now, So, I had most of what I needed at this point. I put 5 food things in there, put the anti-rad in, and then I only had 2 beverages. So I needed to actually find 3 more before I could move on to the next part of this escape, so I had to do a little bit of a searching and exploring here. But luckily, like, I've been through here so many times, I basically knew exactly where to find them. You just head to any cafeteria area, you're gonna find food and drink. For some reason, there was a moon shark in the refinery. I was just glad he wasn't in the central mine, which is the area that I'm in right now. He can be a real pain when he's in the central mine. And you're trying to do the mass driver escape. Alright, so just making sure all my weapons are loaded up here, because I knew there's always quite a few enemies you encounter when you ascend up to the mass driver controls. And just happened to come across another delay loop there, so managed to keep it at corruption level 3, which was handy. Again, it was a lot more interesting than, like I said, my first run where I didn't even reach corruption level 3. But I'm thinking about trying this again because I'm just addicted to this game. I'm thinking about trying this again and not using any delay loops. I think that would be a real challenge. Get a nice close-up look at a Weaver here. I didn't know I was there. I could have gotten another delay loop from the Weaver corpse, but at this point I was like, well, really don't need it. And this is embarrassing. Don't ask me what the hell happened there. I don't know. I just don't know. I hit the jump button too late or something. That was slightly embarrassing.
Detecting deep medical attention.
Okay. Attempt number 2 went a little better. If you go and watch that video of my epic telepath fight, there's a point where it blasts me and I fall off one of those balconies. It was a really cool moment. I thought I was toast. But then I landed on the ground and took no damage. I have no idea how that happened. It was a weird glitch, but... So this is a part where you have to go into this area and activate the mass driver, and then you have 1 minute to get back through and down to the mass driver. And so I always make sure that all the enemies are cleared out here, partly because there's a Typhon gate that you have to get through, and you don't want that slowing you down, but also you don't want the enemies screwing with your day, so I was just kind of taking a look around, making sure that there was nobody hiding around here. And all I found was this one corrupted operator. So I kind of wish I'd been at a higher corruption level, which is it would have made this part a little more interesting. But there was a technopath. And technopaths are an interesting enemy, so they pick up like turrets and things. That will then kind of orbit around them and attack you. They sort of telepathically control robotic things. But this one just died like a chump because he didn't have anything on him, and I just used some EMPs to basically shut down his attacks. So, anyway, there were no Typhon left in here, so this was basically, even though we're right at the end, this is one of the tensest moments of the run for me, because I've screwed this up before. I have managed to somehow... Why are you grabbing all that stuff? What are you doing? Jeez. Past me. Yeah, if you screw this up and don't go fast enough, you know, that's it. You're the run over. But if you know exactly where you're going, which thankfully I did, plus having VJ, having the Artex propulsion system, I was able to just jump down and in just like that. And that's the end of the run. That's the 5 escape run of Prey Mooncrash. So yeah, I really like this game. And like I said, I'm even a little disappointed at the lack of difficulty level of this version of the 5 escape run that I did, which again was spending no sim points and not using the Mule operator. It made it considerably more difficult, but not... I don't know. I wish it had been more of a challenge. I might try it again without using delay loops. I don't know. Let me know if you'd like to see that. And if I have time, I'll try and record a run of that just for fun. But all characters done, resetting simulation, and that's it. That's the 5 escape run. So, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you sticking to the end of the video like this. Hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to like, sub, and hit that notification bell. And I will talk to you later. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, sub, and hit that notification bell. And then check out some of these other videos. Find the link to our Discord server and other important stuff in the description below.